And I'm putting my cell phone on mute. You guys are welcome to join me there as well. Hi, I'm Josh Oakes, author of the book Light, Bright, and Polite, How to Use Social Media to Someday Impress Colleges and Future Employers. Today we have an exciting lineup. We're with SafeSmartSocial.com today, and we have a video podcast talking about productive screen time. I have experts from all over the country that are sharing with us some of their best tips on how to talk with your students about how to be productive on these devices that they always have in their hands. It's harder and harder to keep kids off of their digital devices, keep the internet away from them. How can we make this something that helps their future? Today we're talking about that. I have people from all over the country. We're going to start with Connie. Connie lives full-time in Florida and is a former spokesperson for Disney, the Walt Disney Company. She's a current homeschool advisor and a keynote speaker. She's at a conference today, and as a mother of 5, she learned how to help her students and children manage their screen time by setting up a system of time management techniques. Connie, welcome to the video. Can you give us one of your tips on productive screen time?
Hey, Josh. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to join all of you. It's an honor. All right, so we're talking about productivity, and I'd like to tie in 2 pieces to this. One, that the students need to learn their time is limited. There's only so much time that they have, so we want them to be productive. So what I did is I took 10 pennies. Each penny represented 30 minutes. They were given 10 pennies a week. Initially, I allowed them to spend them however they wanted. And then by Tuesday, they were gone. And they realized this isn't working so well because they had to go the rest of the week with no screen time. So they quickly learned if I use 2 pennies a week, 2 pennies a day, that gives me an hour, and then I'm able to stay connected, right? Mm-hmm. So the other element to that on being productive is once they learn that their time is important and that they only have so much they can do with it, let's now teach them to be engaged in the community and to do good with social media, because let's face it, technology is wonderful and social media is wonderful, and there are bad elements, but let's teach these tweens and young people that they can make a difference. They matter. They can make a difference. And so what I have them do is find a cause, something that's passionate to them, either in the community or in their school. And then what they do is they spend their time either promoting an event or creating an event or telling other people about what's going on, creating awareness. So that's kind of how I take their time and teach them time management and take that time for something that is beneficial to the community.
Bigger than themselves. I love that.
Bigger
I love
than themselves, yeah.
I love tying the time to money. Time is money, as you told me earlier. I love that. Yeah. Next, we're going to go over to Natalie, who's an author and an educator. Her recent book called Regroup, Refocus, Rebuild, Helping Families Navigate from Breakups to Breakthroughs. She's a full-time teacher in high school. She teaches people ESL, how to learn English, essentially, and she has a tip for us, for those of you that are parents on elementary and middle school. Natalie, welcome. Can you talk to us about productive screen time? What is your tip for parents?
Thank you, Josh. I think parents absolutely need to keep technology out of children's rooms, especially if parents are not home to supervise to see what children are doing. I know parents, especially mothers, have crazy schedules, and it is almost impossible sometimes to supervise their children. So going into kids' rooms and making sure there is nothing there that would distract them from schoolwork is extremely important. As a matter of fact, I also mentioned family time. Family time is essential for most parents because that's when parents can sit down with their kids and talk about the importance of technology and what kids should be doing or not be doing during certain times. If parents can limit the amount of time that children have online, children will be more constructive in terms of working on schoolwork.
I think that's a great tip, especially for elementary and middle school children, keeping it out of the bedroom whenever possible. Next, we're going to jump over to Orange County, California. We're jumping over to Mercedes. Mercedes is the founder of an organization called The Parenting Skill, where she's a coach to parents and teens and parents of tweens. Mercedes, you have a cool tip that's all about optimizing screen time for elementary and middle school kids. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, so thank you so much for being on. I'm really excited to be here and hear all the other tips. I'm like, these are so great. I need to incorporate them into my coaching as well. But one of the tips that I really love, especially because more and more schools are bringing technology into their educational environment, is to really actually begin to guide and teach children more about how to use technology as opposed to just restricting it or taking it away. And the reason why I say that is because, as you know, Natalie and Connie had shared earlier, it's about really teaching our kids how to be digital natives and learn how to do it in a really healthy way. Even if we can't always supervise them, even if we can't always be right over them, if we teach them healthy ways of being able to do it, and we teach them how to critically think about the time they're spending and the things that they're doing online, even when we're not around them, they'll be more able to make healthy decisions and do it in the right way so that they can stay healthy online.
That's terrific. I think that's a really great tip. Next, we're going to jump over to Andrea Gribble, who's a school social media specialist, a mom of 6, and the author of a recent children's book called The Von Awesome Family in a Digital Days. Andrea, welcome to the video.
Thanks for having me, Josh.
Now, technically, you are a mom of 6, but you have a really cool story, and you put that in the book. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'm a mom of 2, and my husband has 4 boys. So when we're all together, we're a modern-day Brady Bunch. And I was, talking to middle schoolers about being safe and kind online. I realized my own kids needed to be talked to, and so I went and looked for a children's book. I couldn't find one, so I decided to write one. So, my children's book really tackles that whole technology balance, in the home, and how do we address that?
Yeah, and we're going to link to your book below. Talk to us about involving your kids when setting up limits.
Yeah, well, it's all about rules, right? And we've heard quite a few of them. Don't let the devices get into the bedroom, and maybe set time limits. With the penny. I love that. So document those and actually write those down. And what we love to do is actually then sign them and put them up on your refrigerator where all the family, kids too, are involved in setting the limits. And then all of the family should help each other, hold them accountable, so that we make sure that we keep those rules that we set. And if your first grader catches dad on his cell phone at the dinner table, that first grader should say, "Hey, Dad, we made a rule that we weren't going to have those at the table. We should really work to keep those."
That's great. And would somebody, you have something in your hand that's actually that Groundworks thing, and would somebody post that on the refrigerator so the whole family can see it?
Yeah, it's a very simple, set up 4 rules to start with and sign it at the bottom. Put that right on your refrigerator, and we've got a free download, that we'll link to. They can print this out themselves.
And this works there's some principals that are probably watching this right now, superintendents, educators. This works if you're an employer like me and you have a staff. You set those ground rules. It works for adults. It works for kids. I love that tip. I think that's really, really key. Next, we're jumping over to James. James Emery is the founder of an organization called The Best Practice Life, and he's an author of a book called Positively Uncertain. He has a really cool tip about optimizing screen time for middle schoolers. James, welcome to the video, and can you give us that tip?
Hey, yeah, Josh, thanks for having me on. I really like what you said about being a part of something bigger, and I know that in a super important aspect of that and of making that an actual regular thing is to bring in some social support behind it. Mm-hmm. And parents tend to throw out, the baby with the bathwater when it comes to technology and apps, and, there are some ones that are a little scary, but when you can cultivate a passion for volunteer work by involving your peer groups and connecting with like-minded people, that's super important. And there's a recent app that I've kind of fallen in love with called Nobly, N-O-B-L-Y, and you get to share, it's like a Twitter for random acts of kindness, for volunteer work you do. You connect and you have friends that you get to share with, and they get to support you. And then if you can all rally around a certain thing that you really have a passion for, that's the way to actually keep the coals burning and keep the kids incentivized on their phone, maybe you're like, what are you doing over there on your phone? And like, I'm actually just wrote down that I did some nice thing, or I'm liking my friends. They just gave money or worked at a soup kitchen. Anything. It's all about social connection and social support.
I
From where
like
I'm
that. And you're saying not only sharing, and you had a tip, a four-letter word that was fear of something. Can you share that with us? Instead of that, we need to share volunteer work. What was that
Yes.
four-letter word?
FOMO. It's a fear of missing out, and it's a big thing with social media these days because people do tend to put their highlight reel life on Facebook and Twitter, and you get to see their best aspects. Nobody
Yeah.
puts, the bad day they had or little things like that. But so it sort of is not good for the mental health of adolescents because they see all these things. But when you can see, instead of a fear of missing out, like everybody else has this awesome life, you see, oh, this other person, gives the charity, and it makes it more of a normative action and normative behavior that people would want to emulate.
And you call those pro-social deeds, helping others. Many of us would call that volunteer work. I think it's all terrific and really neat. So, James, thank you for those tips. I love that. Now we're jumping over to Austin, Texas. We're going to jump over to Natalie Ruiz. She's a digital consultant that works with teens and parents on social media awareness and safety. And you have a 25-10 rule, Natalie. Can you walk us through that?
Absolutely. So what I see working really well, whether at home or in the classroom, is balancing out the digital experience for teens and kids, but not necessarily making it okay, here's your screen time, and now we get away from the screen experience. I certainly think kids should be outside and having a great time there, but what can work well when they're working on a project or doing a big research assignment or a book report using the internet is giving them 25 minutes to work really hard and then saying, you know what, for 10 minutes you can play this game with your friends. You can be on this specific social media site. It's okay to have fun online as long as you get your schoolwork done as well. So when you balance it out with the 25 of productivity, the 10 of fun, I see kids be much more productive overall.
Boy, that's a great tip. That's called the 25-10 rule. 25 minutes of work and 10 minutes of fun.
Absolutely.
That's really terrific. I'm Josh Oakes, and I want to thank all of our experts that we have on today. We have something in Los Angeles that's happening on April 22nd. We call it the Digital Citizenship Conference. It's a first of its kind in Los Angeles, and we're honored to have Microsoft help us by sponsoring this. In Los Angeles, we have 30 to 40 speakers talking about how to be safe and smart, two different tracks that we have. And safety, many of us are familiar with. Many of these tips that were incredible from our experts are all about the safety track. We have another track called the smart track. And by the smart track, I mean, have you Googled your student, your teen or tween? Do they know that their online reputation, their online image, their footprint will affect their future? Now, it may not get them into Harvard, but it certainly can keep them from getting into Harvard. And we hear about that all the time in the news. We're going to start the dialogue in a massive way at this conference, April 22nd. There is something called a virtual ticket to the conference. For at a fraction of the price, you can watch all 8 of the panels. All the sessions can be watched from home with your spouse or with your teachers and other people, colleagues. I hope you'll take part in that. It's at safesmartsocial.com. I want to thank all of our experts today. I'm Josh Oakes, the author of The Light, Bright, and Polite. I want to thank all of you for coming out today. And as always, remember, when you're typing something on social media, whether it's public or private, always keep it light, bright, and polite. Thanks for coming out. Have a great day.